The bell above the bakery door rang at exactly 6:12 p.m., sharp and tired, the way it always sounded at the end of a long day. I was scraping frosting from the edge of a mixing bowl when I saw her pause just inside the doorway. She stood there longer than most customers, hands clasped, eyes moving from the display case to the floor and back again, like she was counting courage instead of calories. The shop smelled like vanilla and warm sugar, but the air between us felt heavy. I noticed the way her coat hung too loosely on her shoulders, the way she swallowed before stepping forward. When she finally reached the counter, she didn't look at the cakes first. She looked at me. "My son's birthday is today," she said quietly. "He's 7. Then she hesitated. "How much is the smallest cake?" I told her the price. It wasn't high, not for most people, but her face fell just enough to break my heart. She nodded, thanked me, and turned to leave without another word. I don't know what made me speak. Maybe it was the memory of my own childhood birthdays, my mother stretching every rupee, every dollar, every ounce of hope. Maybe it was the way the bell sounded lonelier when people left empty-handed. "Wait," I said, "what flavor does he like?" She turned back, surprised. "Chocolate," she replied, almost apologetically. "But it's okay, I'll come back another time." I reached behind the counter and lifted a small chocolate cake I had set aside earlier. It wasn't perfect. The frosting leaned a little to one side and the lettering was slightly crooked. I placed it in a box and slid it toward her. "This one's on the house," I said. "Tell him happy birthday from us." Her eyes filled instantly. Not dramatic tears, not the kind you see in movies, but the quiet kind that slip out before you can stop them. She shook her head at first, embarrassed, proud, unsure. "I can't." "You can," I said gently. "Please." She took the box like it might disappear if she didn't hold it carefully enough. "You don't know what this means," she whispered. I smiled, because that's what people do in moments like that, but the truth was, I didn't fully know. Not yet. The next morning I came into the bakery early, before sunrise. The ovens hummed and the street outside was still asleep. On the counter sat a folded piece of paper weighed down by a coin. It was a note. "Thank you for seeing me. My son slept with the cake box next to his bed. He said it was the best birthday he ever had." I stood there longer than necessary, reading it again and again, feeling something warm bloom in my chest. I tucked the note into my pocket and got to work. Weeks passed. Life went on the way it always does, busy and loud and demanding. The bakery had good days and bad days. Sometimes we sold out early. Sometimes we threw away pastries that deserved better. I forgot about the note, then remembered it again on days when my feet hurt and my patience ran thin. Then one afternoon the power went out. It was sudden. The mixers stopped mid-whir. The lights blinked once and died. Outside, the sky had turned a strange gray-green, and rain hammered the windows like it was angry at the world. A storm rolled in faster than predicted, flooding streets and knocking out electricity across the block. I stood there in the dark bakery, surrounded by melting frosting and rising dough that wouldn't bake. Every cake in the fridge was at risk. Every order for the next 2 days hung in the balance. I did the math in my head and felt panic creep in. This bakery was my whole life. I'd poured my savings into it after my father passed away, betting everything on sugar and hope. If I lost this inventory, I didn't know how I'd recover. I was dragging trays toward the back when the door opened and rain blew in. It was her, the woman from weeks ago, soaked, hair plastered to her face, holding an umbrella that had clearly lost the fight with the wind. Behind her stood a small boy with bright eyes and chocolate smeared permanently into the corners of his smile. She blinked when she saw the dark shop. "I heard you lost power," she said. "I live nearby." I must have looked confused because she continued quickly. "My brother owns a restaurant. He has a generator. It's not huge, but it might help save some of this." I stared at her, stunned. "You don't have to do that." She smiled, the same quiet smile she'd worn that night. You didn't have to give my son a cake. Within an hour, we had extension cords running through the rain, a generator humming bravely outside, and the refrigerators alive again. It wasn't perfect. We lost some things, but we saved enough. As the storm raged on, her son sat at the counter swinging his legs and watching me decorate a cake by flashlight. When I grow up, he announced, I want to be kind like you. Something tightened in my throat. Over the next few months, she became a regular. Sometimes she bought a single pastry, sometimes she just came in to talk. I learned her name was Sarah. She worked 2 jobs. Life had not been gentle with her, but she carried herself with quiet strength. One evening she confessed that the night she came in for the cake had been one of the hardest of her life. She'd lost her job that morning. Her son's birthday felt like one more thing she was failing at. I was ready to give up that day, she said softly, but you reminded me that there are still good people. I wanted to tell her that she had done the same for me, that her simple act of showing up in the storm had saved more than cakes. It had saved my faith in why I started this bakery in the first place. Challenges didn't disappear after that. The bakery still struggled. Sarah still worked too much. Life still tested us in small, exhausting ways, but something had shifted. Kindness, I learned, doesn't end when you give it. It moves, it changes shape. It comes back when you least expect it, often from the very people you once helped. On the wall behind the counter I framed her note. Customers sometimes ask about it. I just smile and say, it reminds me why we're here, because a little act of kindness really does go a long way. Sometimes it looks like a cake, sometimes it sounds like a generator in the rain, and sometimes it becomes the reason someone keeps going when they were ready to stop. And that, I believe, is the sweetest thing we can ever give.